welcome to our sixth conversation in talking about the 10 factors related to proactive approach to health. And again, I would like to introduce Michelle Wonderlich and William Israelson from Ascension Fitness in Ham Lake. And as we go through our conversation for about a half hour today, please feel free to direct any questions you might have. We'd love to have this be an interactive conversation, so you're welcome to participate. And again, we'd like to introduce Janice Bunce, who is leading leading us in the fray here in talking about all of the aspects of proactive health. And today, we are talking about stress. And the title is Stress is a Killer. But there is an old saying that one man's joy is another man's sorrow. So stress is also quite singular. What might be stressful for you is not necessarily for another person. So I think it'll be a lively conversation today talking about that. So maybe since we're going to talk about various parts of stress, I thought it might be good to start with the good stress. So, Jan, would you mind telling us a little bit about how good stress can affect us?
Well, good stress is when a person is motivated or has a passion, it gets them excited about getting up in the morning and going through their day. Good stress helps you to pay attention to things, paying attention to traffic, or wanting to live in a safe place or eat really good food.
So it sounds like it's kind of a protection.
Right.
We protect ourselves.
Right,
So
and you can't avoid stress, so you need to look at things in creative ways. But there is definitely good stress, and attitude is a key factor in that, because your response is not passive. You don't respond in a passive way. You're going to respond one way or another. So if you can, find purpose and meaning in your life, and maybe you love your job, but it's stressful. Maybe you have peers that look up to you. I mean, there's things that make that stressfulness less harmful to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things you've talked about in your research is how stress, how our reaction to stress, maybe we should put it that way, can affect our bodies and our function of our bodies. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Let's see. Are you talking about?
How
okay.
it physically affects us.
Okay.
Yes.
For example, there's let's see.
One example that came to my mind was I read about during World War II, there were a lot of pilots who had been shot down and had burns all over. And those who were instructed to change their own dressings healed faster than those who were more passive about it. So that goes along with what you were saying, being active and having purpose in what you're doing, and changes your attitude, which then can actually change how your body reacts to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the system that you're talking about is really the hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal. It's like this, the hypothalamic sends messages to the pituitary, which then sends out chemicals that go to the adrenal, and then pretty soon your whole system is in action.
Mm-hmm.
And this system, just think for a minute, if you're in a hurry,
Mhm.
or if you're late, or
Mhm.
if a
Mhm.
police, you know, their
Officer
siren
starts
is behind your car,
speeding.
or you have guests coming, and this recipe you tried is not working, and they're at the door. Okay, so what starts happening in your body? You know, you're maybe breathing a little faster, or maybe not breathing. You know, you're stopping your breathing, or your body starts to, your heart starts pounding. You get irritable. You know, there's signs that all of these things are starting to take action in your body. And the good news is that typically that's short-lived, you know, and it'll calm down.
Mhm.
But what becomes problematic is when this stress goes on and on for long periods of time.
Mhm.
And then we don't know how to
Mhm.
calm that.
No.
So,
Mhm.
so that's,
What are some of the ways that you've seen that play out sometimes in the gym with the members that you've been working with?
Well, we often have people who come in and they're coming right from work and they're very stressed because their coworker irritates them and their boss doesn't understand them, and the customer wanted this project done yesterday, but he's, you know, and they come in and they say, I am ready to kill someone right now. Let's do punching on the bag today. And we say, you go punch that bag. And they will punch and punch and punch until they're, you know, out of breath. And they're like, okay, I'm fine now. Now we can do whatever we were gonna do, you know? But that physical exertion helps them deal with that stress and helps them mitigate those symptoms they're having, and their attitude actually, they come in, they're angry, they're crabby, and they're like, oh, now I don't feel angry. I can actually enjoy my workout, thank you.
So that's actually a coping mechanism that you have, that they have discovered. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Bill? What are some
Oh,
things you've
it's
been-
the same thing.
Mhm.
They have a hard day at work, and you know, believe me, I can guarantee you that coming into the gym, our gym, any gym, going for a hike, going for a run, or anything else, getting outside and releasing some endorphins and some stress is a lot better than hitting pizza on the way home and Netflix. You know, you're not only going to create more stress later on because the stress on your waistband is going to be affected by that. But you really know that that's not what you need to do.
Mhm.
And we have rarely, ever had anybody come in highly stressed and leave highly stressed. You know, and stress, like I said, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing also.
Mhm.
And in today's environment, even right now in the last 6 months, the stress level for everybody is through the roof.
Mhm.
You
Yes,
know?
yes.
So,
People are all learning new things, which is in itself very often stressful. Yeah. And
Yeah, things you wanna do, you can't do, and there's controversy over different aspects of it, and you disagree with some of it. No matter what side you're on, you disagree with somebody about it. And yeah, everybody is just really feeling a lot of extra stress right now.
yeah. I was hearing a commentator talk about what keeps you up at night. And one of the things that popped into my mind was passwords.
there's always stress around the hospital.
passwords.
You need an app for that.
So you alluded to the idea of, obviously we all have stress, and
Mhm.
so you on a daily basis see how different people deal with stress, and some do it in more kind of smooth ways. And I was really interested in seeing what you wrote about the fact, Jan, that it's almost important to develop fitness for your brain, that you can train your brain to think in certain ways or come to certain coping mechanisms like punching the bag. But what are some of the things that are sort of quick starts that all of us could be thinking about when you get into a situation and you don't want to stay there?
Well, that's kind of a twofold question,
Mhm.
but I have 5 different things that can be very helpful. And the first one, I'm gonna go back to another place too. Well, before I go to the 5, I wanna just mention, because it's a mind-body kind of thing, you know, and your mind works with your body on certain, and there's a professor at Mayo Clinic that works with stress and resiliency, and he talks about the brain being like a molding clay, that if you practice these things, it'll help you be stronger in stressful situations. And so the things that he talks about to help with that are concentrating on things like gratitude, compassion, meaning, and forgiveness. And so those are things that you can do regularly to help relieve some of the things that we have running around in our heads that will affect our body. But, you know, and I'll be probably repeating some of this, but the first one goes back to some of the other things we've talked about in our other foundational factors. And we talked about it when we were, and you guys mentioned this earlier too, breathing, you know, slow and deep breathing helps to calm your, that system we were talking about. Also, fast-paced workouts, just like you were talking, the punching bag, that can immediately sort of take out the negativity. Also, adequate sleep and good nutrition. Without that, your body's going to be more stressed. And then also, some of the pollutants that we allow into our body adds extra stress to the body. So it's not only things that are happening in your life, but it's the things you put into your body that also stress you, or not
Make it
having,
work harder.
or not having a good night of sleep can cause those problems too. Okay, so that's the first thing. Those are all things we've kind of talked about, and those are pretty instant, which are wonderful. Okay, the second one, this is a little more long-term and somewhat unconscious sometimes, but there might be stressors from childhood, or things that are kind of from your life story, things that reoccur, you know, and
Maybe triggers something.
they
too.
trigger, like maybe there was physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Growing up with an alcoholic or a very volatile parent, that, you know, say your boss gets a little, you know, loud, it might trigger something in you that is, you get more, you kind of feel a little more intense from, just because it triggers certain things from your childhood. So those are things that really need to be addressed. And those are kind of the long-term stressors that sometimes keep affecting you throughout your life. And it would be really important to get therapeutic help for that. And, you know, always be very particular about who you go to for that particular help. But it's really important because dealing with emotional stress is a very large part of your personal physical wellness. And a lot of times people don't even connect the dots for that. But, you know, it can cause disease, seriously.
I saw a thing on Facebook yesterday that said, those of us who are in therapy to deal with all the people who wouldn't go to therapy. Exactly. You're causing stress, yes. Now I have to go to therapy. Whatever.
So
There's
going
some
to
truth to
therapy
that.
is like going to the gym, where you're
Yes.
practicing and you're
Right.
improving and you're learning new coping mechanisms
It's
for
about
yourself.
Changing the triggers or
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
triggers you,
So you talked about pH balance,
right?
but you also want balance just in your whole well-being.
Right. And how you think creatively and how to. Okay, the third one is focusing on mindfulness and well-being. And in general, the way of, you know, everybody has different ways of looking at mindfulness, but in general, it's more about being aware, being present, focused, and being more accepting of yourself and others.
Mhm.
And there's a couple examples that come to mind, and we've talked about this before, where your own internal voice is not real kind, and it's correcting you or making you feel like you're to this or to that or not enough of this. And that is a really important, place to remember that you need to treat yourself with kindness too and respect.
I've heard that term called ANTS,
Uh-huh.
A-N-T, which would be automatic negative thinking,
Yes,
that just kind of churns sometimes.
and that is not helpful
Mhm.
for your well-being. Okay, another example is letting go. A lot of times we hang on to things, which is kind of the same.
Mhm.
But, like if you're trying to relax and you're saying, come on, I gotta relax. You're forcing your, it's kind of like
You do
you're
that
kind
pretty
of
well.
missing the point. Come on, relax. And, sometimes you gotta let it go and let it happen when it's gonna happen.
I was thinking about that when you were talking about sleep, because I'm like, yeah, but I'm stressed about the fact that I'm not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, some of these
Like
are
you're laying there at
silly.
midnight, and you're like, I have to be up at 3:30. I can't get to sleep.
It's like we try too hard and that doesn't help, so.
There's an old term for that, sleep fast.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And then I just want to say mindfulness is not about stopping reactions that you encounter in life. It's becoming more aware of them and how they affect your body and your mind and your behavior. So the more that people can open up beyond the habit of their reaction,
Mhm.
then you can learn, fresh ways of looking at things and maybe have some different outcomes.
Mhm.
So there's a saying that Abraham Maslow's modified. He said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the point of mindfulness is to have a lot more tools
Mhm.
to handle the issues and then have a little more variety of creative
Mhm.
solutions.
Mhm.
So,
That's where imagination comes
Right.
in to
Right.
think of more ideas.
exactly.
Mhm.
And I have a few resources in this mindfulness area. Can I just tell those really quick? There's an organization called Mind Up, and it's Goldie Hawn is the person that started this foundation. It's called the Hawn Foundation, and it's really geared to helping students in school learn mindfulness. And it's kind of fun because when you hear her talk about it, she'll say, yeah, the kids learn about their brain, and they'll say, my amygdala is not working right now, I need to go, and and then they go and kind of do some, quiet work on their amygdala, So it's really kind of a wonderful program, and I wish all schools could have that. The other one is the Center for Healthy Minds at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and the question they ask is, what if the world were a kinder, wiser, more compassionate place? And so their mission is to cultivate well-being and relieve suffering through a scientific understanding of the mind. And this is where we were talking about exercising your mind. It's just as important as exercising your body, resulting in a person's well-being that cascades to others and then to the community, which affects the whole world.
Mhm.
So that's their purpose and their mission. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that his team combines the art and science of exploring qualities that constitute a healthy mind. And what they work on, they say it's like training, like when you're practicing an instrument. You would train for this.
Mhm.
So the ability is to improve your well-being, and this is the 4 components that they look at. Positive outlook, ability to rebound from negative emotion,
Mhm.
mindfulness and mind wandering, and then caring for others. So those are the 4 areas, components that they focus on, and
Mhm.
that helps people have a little
Mhm.
healthier perspective.
And I think that dispels the idea that the brain is somehow static.
Separate, yeah.
That it can be rewired and can be
Right,
changing at all times. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
And yes, if you're interested in those two resources, we will post them in the comments after the episode, so
excellent.
you can look them up.
Excellent. Okay, the fourth one, and vital to mindfulness and stress relief, is spirituality. And as we go through life, another wonderful gift that we realize is the gift of the human spirit, and that we see in the spiritual realm. And what nourishes this spirit, and how does it survive? Well, actually, spirituality, as we know, is different for everybody, or different for different people. But typically people, find spirituality on their personal journey, either through tragedy and loss or learning and discovery. Those are typically how you, but the thing is, people are looking for meaning and significance and purpose. And so this spirituality is really important, and it does make a difference in the health of a person.
Mhm.
And even in the 12-step program, it always
It's a
says,
centerpiece, yeah.
we depend on a higher power.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's an important area. And then there's another resource at the University of Minnesota. It's called the Earl Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing. And they believe that is a really huge factor in healing. So they are working on incorporating that in a lot of disciplines of healing at the university. So that's another good resource. And then number 5, this is the last one, and I really encourage you to go to these 2 TED Talks.
And we did post those on the
Okay,
Ascension
perfect.
page
Excellent.
and on Jan's page at PHRX, so you can click right on those and it'll take you right to these 2 TED Talks.
Yes, you will love these. They're sisters. They're the McGonigal sisters, Kelly and Jane. And Kelly, her talk is about how to make stress your friend. Now that sounds weird, but she has a great talk on how you think about it differently. And if you're thinking that it's a problem, it becomes a problem, So she helps you through removing the fear, having positive ways to embrace stress, and trusting that your body can handle it, So she's great. Okay, then her sister, who is a game designer, she really inspires you because her story is about the resilience in recovering from a brain concussion. She had a severe concussion, and it's an amazing demonstration of not only resilience, but a positive way to handle stress. And she uses gaming. She made a game that created helpful interactions that calmed the distress, allowed her, the people that want to support her, to have healthy interactions with her. And then also, this amazed me, it triggered post-traumatic growth in her brain. And the emotional activities that can actually add 10 years to a person's life. Her talk is really inspiring, and she helps you recognize that even in a very difficult situation, you can have a positive outcome. So in that sense, stress does not need to be the killer that we talked about. It can. It can cause disease. It can be very problematic, but it doesn't have to be. So these are a few things that can kind of help you guys deal with stress. But deal with it, because it's important.
Yeah.
Don't ignore it.
Yeah. And since this conversation is sponsored by Ascension, I'd like to just take a minute to think about how, when providing a personal training approach, you provide a lot of positivity and help people get over things. And is there one or two examples of how you've seen that play out over time, that people are able to kind of change their ways of thinking along with getting physically fit?
Yeah, we have let them know that if they have a bad day, they come to us. Seriously, I had one young lady I know, she had to come to the gym. She came to the gym and she went straight to the heavy bag and she pounded on that heavy bag for 20 minutes straight, swearing, cussing, and everything else. I thought she was gonna knock it off the beam. And like 20 minutes, and she was about ready to kill, I mean literally kill somebody. But she can't keep it. And she spent 20 minutes, that's all it took. And after that, she left red faced, dripping with sweat, but smiling.
Yeah.
You know, you have more control of your life and your health, well-being than you think you do. You
Yeah.
know, we all have our glitches. Every single one of us have our glitches. Every single one of us have bad days. Every single one of us has days where the stress is just unbearable.
Right.
But we're in charge of how we deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to sit down and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need to go out for a run. Sometimes you just need to watch a stupid TV show. You know, and just completely detach, but don't detach in the hopes of detaching for the rest of your life.
Right.
Detach for that moment, get some clarity in, and then get back to the subject at hand.
Right.
Because that subject's not gonna go away.
Yeah.
If you can't make it the mortgage, it's not gonna magically not make it the next day.
No. And I've heard you talk about sometimes people have an injury, so typically they wouldn't go to the gym, but they come in anyway because they want to talk with you and the people who are there, and they have the sense of community. So
Yeah, that's
I
one
think
of
that's
the great
important.
things we see that I think is maybe different than some of the bigger gyms where you're kind of anonymous when you come in there. Now that can be great because you can go in there, maybe you just pound out 5 miles on the treadmill and that releases your stress, and or you love that class you take or whatever, and that can be really great. So, but one of the things that we see is we have the physical exercise that releases the endorphins and helps you with stress, but we also have an emotional, personal connection with our clients and they with each other. So they'll come in and maybe they're doing their exercise, but while they're doing it, they're talking about, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this, or this is driving me crazy. And they feel heard and they feel encouraged and they, get more clarity just by talking it through. And, excuse me, so I think, we're addressing stress on two different levels there. You're getting the encouragement and able to talk it through, and you're getting the physical exertion, and the encouragement to get your sleep and to eat better and to hydrate, which are all going to help you with your stress, rather than just going, you know what, Netflix and wine, what else do I need?
Yeah, and seeing how other people cope as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And as always, if questions or comments come up, feel free to contact Michelle Woodhill or Jan. And we look forward to hearing from any of you. Also, we're looking forward to the next session, which will be about environment. So tune in. Thank you.